Hi, you're listening to What's New Today, a kids and family podcast. This is your host Sangeeta, and in today's episode, I have a very interesting guest. She is Antara Goswami, a story narrator. A mutual friend introduced me to her, and this is what she had to say about Antara. So, Antara can make even the most boring story sound like an epic saga. So imagine you're reading a book and the book says that there's this guy going to a grocery store. Sounds very dull, right? But someone like Antara, who's a story narrator, can make it sound like he approached the aisle of the store with the determination of a warrior entering battle. The last loaf of bread sat on the shelf. But lo, a rival shopper had spotted it too. Now suddenly when you're listening to this story, even I start caring about it. I want to know who wins the bread. Now story narration sounds interesting and a little bit intriguing, right? So I'm very happy to have Antara on this podcast, and when she graciously agreed to join me on this episode, I also invited 5 children who are themselves wonderful story writers, and they all aspire to be grand published authors when they grow up. So they too join me in this episode to listen to Antara and ask her any questions they have for her. Welcome Antara, I'm delighted to have you here, and welcome to my 5 young budding story writers too. Hi Antara, could you tell us a little bit about what you do? And I'm curious, did you start as a writer at any point in time?
I wish I could write stories like you all, and you all have so much of confidence about, writing something and knowing that someone would love to read it. That takes a lot of bravery. So I thought I'll do a little something else. So I thought I'll pick up the stories I love, and then I will give it a bit of a twist to it in my own way, and add my style to it a little bit, and present it to other children, so everyone could have a bit of what they like in it. Now I'll explain what I mean with that by that. Okay, so first let's start with how I choose what I choose, the stories that I choose, why I choose them. I like things that are more slice of life, things that you just see around actually, and sometimes they are so obvious that you just ignore them, but when you put them in a story, somehow they just like come out in a different light, and I seem to love them. And when I started using them, I realized how the little kids also love them. And I understand that the older children, they get bored of this. They are exposed to so much more interesting things around these days. So I love doing Disney stories in a very theatrical manner. Next, let's get to how I approach. Now, for little ones, I use a lot of sensory approach. Now, what do I mean by sensory? Your senses. So I give them a lot to apply their senses. So I give them a lot to touch and feel. I give them a lot of glitter or cotton and fluffy things. Okay, I give them a lot of blinking lights. Like if it's a story about fireflies, or if it's a story of bugs in the night, so I use things like glow in the dark balls, glow in the dark ribbons, or blinking lights for fireflies, things like that. Okay, I give them a lot of music. So if it's Room in the Broom, then there will be musical instruments going with them. Okay, and say a lot of rhymes. So if it's say a winter's tale, then a badger will sing a song, then the otter will sing a song in a different voice, things like that. So everyone will talk in songs like a musical. Okay, so for little kids, yes, it's very, very sensory. I try to make it very sensory, not too much of talking, a lot of singing and exploring. For older kids, I try to make it a theater, because I'm kind of competing with YouTube and apps. So I might as well make it, very dynamic and fast, and a very popular one in my kitty is the shadow theater. I don't know if you've ever seen a shadow theater. So you know, you have shadows being characters and the shadows moving their hands, and sometimes I'm using my hands to create shadows. So, and then there's a lot of music and like like changing music with the changing mood to make it like a movie thing. And there's a lot of voice modulation. Usually for 1 hour after the session, I'm like, okay, I'm like just breathing, because sometimes I'm Lion King and sometimes I'm Mowgli, so it's like that. So a lot of voice modulation. Thirdly, when I wrap up, I try to make it very interactive, because everyone wants to participate. Nobody wants to just listen and go home, right? And we hate people who just talk and go away. So for little kids, interaction is mostly explorations. Like, if you have finger puppets, they will wear the finger puppet and try to talk like the duck. Or, um, if it's something interesting like a glow in the dark balls, they will play with the balls a little bit and explore with them, how it works. For older kids, it's usually, I don't give them the end. It's Disney story, so everyone knows the end, so I don't have to tell them. But then sometimes I ask them to spin their own ending to the story. Because, for instance, in Jungle Book, I don't like to kill Sher Khan. So we anyways have very few tigers left, don't we? So we say, okay, let's spin it around and let's give it a twist, and then make it a different ending, and they come up with beautiful endings, much better than, I think, Kipling. And then many a times we do role play, like, we create a situation, and then the children interact with each other and become one of the characters. And they do role play, and they also try voice modulation and movements, and it's very interesting to see how everybody puts in their own flavor into it. And yeah, that's it. And another one, I think I left out, is script. Yes, script. So I try not to pick up the script as is from the book. I try to make it more like a drama, so that it doesn't feel like I'm just reading out from the book. Say, for instance, sometimes I pick up the lines but make it into a song and then sing it. Sometimes I add a completely new dialogue into it, so that, because I feel that that goes better with the character. Yeah, so these are certain elements apart from the props and the puppets and yeah, so music, script. These are the elements that that I put together and make it into a more dynamic and interactive piece. Yeah, so that's how I narrate.
Thank you so much, Antara, for sharing a little bit about what you do and how you go about doing it. So, when you spoke about changing the ending of stories, one of my childhood dreams came to my mind. In the story, The Lion King, I never really liked how Mufasa died. So, as a child, I rewrote that part of the story many, many times in my head. So, I'm glad to know I'm not alone in this whole idea of rewriting stories to suit what I liked. So, anyway, off with my reminiscences and on to my young guests. What questions do y'all have for our story narrator, Antara Auntie? Can I request each one of you to introduce yourself and then ask your question?
Hi, I'm Rishan. I'm 8 years old. I'm going to turn 9 on May 5th. I love writing books, but but I hate faction books. I like every single book except faction. I mostly write stories related to chocolate or something. I take 30 minutes daily for story writing.
Wow, you're definitely disciplined.
Do you ever do mono acting or something?
No, I haven't tried acting really. With the little kids, I do become sometimes one of the animals. Yeah. So what happens is, in a story, you usually have 3 4 animals. Okay, you might be able to call that a mono acting actually. So for instance, there was this one story which was about a bear and a mole. It's called the Kite Day, a beautiful story. And this bear and the mole, uh, mm, one is like big and huge and with a loud voice, and the other one is like a squeaky little thing, but they are really good friends. So the for me, the hand puppet of the mole became the mole, and I became the bear. So the whole story was, I talking like the bear, and the mole talking, and my hand talking like the mole. And then my hand moves, and the mole moves, and I move, and the bear moves. Right? So, and because they were making a kite together, so the hands would make the kite, and then the bear will suddenly make the other part, and we were working together, the hand and me, the bear and the mole. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
All right.
But I thought you were wearing half bear costume, half a mole costume, and when you were talking from the bear, the audience was seeing the bear side. When you were talking from the mole, the audience was you were showing the mole side. Did that ever happen? Because I did that once in the auditorium.
Oh, that's a great idea. I never thought of it. Okay, Rishi, you want to go next?
My name is Rishi. I'm 9 years old. My birthday is on May 6th. I like
Yes,
to
yes.
write humorous books.
Humorous books, yes, lovely.
Like, where do you narrate in like stages or like in classrooms or like that?
Yeah, more classrooms as yet. I am not as of now. I have just started. It's been like 3 years. So with as of now, I'm still in schools, classrooms, their drama rooms, and many online sessions. Because when the festivals come in, there are requests for sessions on Christmas and Diwali. So those I do like this, like a platform like this. How we are doing. As of now, I've not reached a stage. Fingers crossed. Try, try, right? Is that how you pronounce
Yeah,
your name?
actually, I pronounce it Trayi, but you can call me whatever you want. I've been called many things. That's okay.
All right. No, you have a very unique name. That's all. Try, right? Try. Yes?
Yeah, you can call me that. So
Welcome.
I like writing fiction, but mostly I like adventure. I have a question. How does a
Yes.
shadow theater work? I'm sorry, I know that you said that there was a lot of shadows, like people waving, and sometimes you did the waving, and there was also music. But like, I've never been inside a shadow theater, and I like wanted to know, is it like a normal theater, and then there are huge shadows across the screen, or like maybe 3D or something?
No, huge and 3D, it is possible, try, but I have not explored yet because it takes a lot of, what do you call it? Uh, Background work, which I have not been able to do as yet. What I use usually two kinds of shadow boxes. One is a static box, and the box I use is a 2 feet by 1.5 feet. So it's like a tabletop box. Okay, so I hide behind it. All right. So I use a light, like the box has two lights attached from below, and they are throwing the light a little from the corner towards the top. Okay, and then I have puppet cutouts, and these cutouts usually have pins where the hands are movable, the legs are movable, and you have sticks attached to it, right? And yeah, so the sticks are behind, so you press it against the. I wish I could get the shadow box right now. So you press it against the paper, and so you can only see the shadow from the front. You cannot see the sticks. So I'm hidden, and only the shadows are talking. And I usually have a mic, and I'm talking for the puppets, the shadow puppets. Was that clear? Kind of.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Hi, my name is Prakriti and I'm 10 years old. I'm going to be turning 11 soon on 25th December.
Oh,
And
Christmas Eve. All right. Huh.
yeah,
Huh.
I mostly like reading fantasy books and also write fantasy books.
You all love fantasy, don't you? Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to make your own story? Because when I was around Rishan's age, I had myself done a puppet show in my class.
Oh wow! So you had written that story yourself?
Yeah, I had.
Excellent. So I'll tell you a truth. Okay. So around that age, even I used to write a lot of stories, and and I am from a very small town, so I did not know how to take it to beyond my classmates or beyond my parents or siblings. But yes, there were not too many avenues, but we used to write, and I am, yeah, I mean, I wish I could say it otherwise, but today I don't have that much confidence, that I will write a story and everyone would love to read it. But it's amazing to see you guys, uh, that you have it, you have that, and you should go forth and keep writing. And maybe you've inspired me today, and maybe I'll try to write something. I think of a lot of stories, but then sometimes I don't have the time, and sometimes I don't have the courage to pen it down.
You'll write a very good story.
Thank you so much, Prakriti. I will definitely try now.
My name is Anya and I'm 9 years old and I like to write fantasy and kind of like funny stories.
Thank you, Anya. Hello.
Like when you're narrating, how do you
Huh.
be so confident? Because in my school play is just that the people in my class are doing in this, the people who are younger than me. Like how do you make like be so confident when you're
Oh,
narrating?
no, I wasn't so confident in my first few sessions, I assure you. So the thing is, Anya, um, if you love to do it, you don't have to do it if you don't like to do it. Okay. The question is not how the others will like it. All right. The question is not if the ones who are listening to you and looking at you will enjoy it. Okay, if you just stick to the question, if you are liking it, you are sorted. So when you are stepping onto the stage or stepping into the room full of your friends or teachers watching you, you just think to yourself what you're going to do next. Is it going to make you happy? Are you going to enjoy what you're doing? And then you don't think about the rest of it, and you will forget about confidence. You will just enjoy it, and that whole joy is come out as confidence for others. Because if you are liking what you're doing, if you are liking portraying the character or using the puppet or saying those lines, then the confidence will be seen.
Wow, that's such an interesting and intense question. I think Rishan has one last question, but before we go to listen to what Rishan has to ask, my little sneak marketing bit. Listeners, if you've been enjoying this conversation so far, please, please, please do hit that like and subscribe button. If you're listening to it on Spotify, I think it's called follow. Please do leave your reviews if you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube. It goes a long way to help us grow our audience. So now on to Rishan.
Which was your favorite story you ever narrated?
Ah, that is Jungle Book actually. Partly because it is the favorite of the children, and everyone loves it so much, and you see the smiles, and you see so many questions, and so many children then wanting to try the puppets and wanting to talk like Sher Khan and Baloo. So it just feels nice to see that. to see their response. So yes, but usually all the shadow theaters are my favorite because you should try. It's addictive because then you keep trying to make different animals with your hands and trying to use, sometimes you use tinted papers and sometimes you use colors like the markers to, and sometimes you do it on the wall, sometimes you do it on the roof. There are so many ways to explore it, and not too many people have explored it yet. So if you had to narrate one of the stories that you've read recently
I
in the
only like
past.
I only like narrating comics mostly in my class,
Huh?
because then the whole class laughs, and then my ma'am also laughs. Then I get more friends. Then I get more popular in the class. Anyway, I'm smart. Then I somehow become the class topper.
Oh, nice. You have the whole sequence
No,
sorted.
but I'm not the class topper yet.
Thank you for all those interesting questions.
Thank you, children. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Antara, for patiently responding to all of their questions and sharing how a story narrator goes about putting together a wonderful story narration. That's it from us. Oh, I think there's one last thing that Rishan wants to share, but just before that, thank you to all of our listeners. If you have any questions, drop me a note via email at hello@wsnt.in.
I think I should share my comic to Antara auntie after a few days.
Yes, please do. I would love to do it. I would love to
And
narrate it.
but
Absolutely.
unfortunately, my other book got lost somewhere.
Uh-oh. I'm sure your mother or father will find it. Don't worry. That's what parents are here for. Primarily to search and find lost objects of children.